The page froze the moment Professor Hart began reading our screenplay aloud. Then he stopped, lowered the paper, looked straight at me, and asked, "Ethan, did this really happen?" Before I could answer, the entire classroom turned toward Lily, the girl I had secretly loved since freshman year. She smiled with nervous eyes, folded her hands together, and whispered, "No, but I hope it still can." In that single heartbeat, every memory I had buried came rushing back, and I realized her final question wasn't waiting at the end of the story. It was waiting for me. College teaches you formulas, deadlines, and lessons hidden inside thick textbooks. But sometimes, the most unforgettable class is the one that quietly rewrites your heart. This is the story of two students who spent years pretending friendship was enough, until one unexpected assignment forced them to face everything they had never dared to say aloud. It is about fear disguised as silence, love hidden inside ordinary moments, and one impossible question that changed two lives forever. Stay with me until the end because every small detail matters, and the answer Lily was searching for might surprise you as much as it surprised me. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional and inspiring stories like this, make sure to support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of kindness, hope, and humanity. The first time I noticed Lily Carter, she was sitting alone beneath the old oak tree near the campus library, sketching in a weathered notebook instead of scrolling through her phone like everyone else. Autumn leaves drifted around her while she hummed softly, completely unaware that half the campus seemed to revolve around her smile. She wasn't the loudest student or the most popular, but there was something about her quiet confidence that made every ordinary moment seem brighter. I never introduced myself that day. Instead, I walked past with my backpack slung over one shoulder, pretending not to look while secretly hoping I'd see her again. Fate, however, seemed determined to keep crossing our paths. We ended up in the same literature course during sophomore year. She always arrived exactly 2 minutes before class began, carrying coffee in one hand and far too many books in the other. She laughed with everyone but somehow never seemed surrounded by crowds. People liked her because she listened more than she spoke. One rainy afternoon the professor assigned partners for a presentation. Lily and Ethan. She looked over, smiled warmly, and waved. "Looks like we're teammates." My heart immediately forgot how to function. Working together should have been easy. Instead, every meeting felt like trying to hide fireworks behind a calm expression. We'd spend hours researching novels, yet somehow our conversations drifted toward childhood dreams, embarrassing memories, favorite movies, and the places we wanted to visit someday. "You know," she said one evening while closing her notebook, "you're completely different from what I expected." I laughed awkwardly. Good different or bad different? The kind that makes people wish they'd talk to you sooner. That sentence stayed with me for months. Still, I convinced myself she was simply being kind. After all, beautiful girls didn't secretly like painfully average guys who overthought every conversation. At least that's what fear kept telling me. Our friendship slowly became one of those dependable routines neither of us questioned. We studied together before exams, grabbed lunch between lectures, celebrated good grades, and encouraged each other after disappointments. Friends constantly teased us. "So, when are you two finally dating?" We always answered at the same time. "We're just friends." Each time I said those words, something inside me quietly broke. Senior year arrived faster than anyone expected. Graduation suddenly felt close enough to touch. One Monday morning Professor Hart entered creative writing carrying a stack of folders. "Our final assignment," he announced, "is simple. Each pair will write an original romantic scene. Not fantasy. Not comedy. Real emotion. Write something that feels honest." The class immediately filled with laughter and playful complaints. Then came the partner list. Once again. Lily and Ethan. She grinned. "I think the universe enjoys making us work together." I smiled back. "I've noticed." That afternoon we met inside our favorite corner of the library. "So," Lily asked while tapping her pencil against the table, "have you ever written romance?" "Only terrible poetry nobody should ever read." She laughed so hard that nearby students looked over. "I definitely want to read those someday." "No chance." "We'll see." For nearly an hour we stared at blank pages. Every idea sounded fake. Every conversation felt forced. Finally, Lily closed her laptop. What if we stop trying to invent characters? What do you mean? What if we write people who feel real? I nodded. Okay. She began typing. A shy boy. A creative girl. Years of friendship. Unspoken feelings. My chest tightened. Those details felt strangely familiar. You okay? She asked. Yeah. You look surprised. I just wasn't expecting the story to start like that. She kept writing. The fictional boy admired the girl from afar before becoming her closest friend. They laughed together, studied together, and almost confessed their feelings dozens of times, yet fear always interrupted. Every sentence felt less like fiction and more like someone quietly reading pages from my own diary. I wanted to ask if she realized it. I couldn't. Instead, I simply watched her fingers dance across the keyboard. Hours passed unnoticed. Outside, evening sunlight painted the library windows gold. Lily finally leaned back with a satisfied smile. I think we're almost done. Already. We just need the ending. She turned the laptop toward me. Read it. I slowly scrolled through the pages. The dialogue sounded incredibly natural. The emotions felt painfully familiar. Then I reached the final scene. The fictional couple sat together after graduation, watching the sunset. The girl looked at the boy and asked one simple question. If this wasn't just a story, would you kiss me? My heartbeat stopped. I stared at those words, unable to breathe. Lily. She quietly closed the laptop before I could finish my sentence. I know, she whispered. But I need to ask you something first. Her voice trembled just enough for me to realize this assignment had become far more than homework.